VRChat, the next frontier. These are the experiences from Gunters' universe. His continuing mission? To seek out and connect with VR devs and passionate enthusiasts. To discuss theories, beliefs, and rhetoric of all kind. And to boldly go where no show has ever gone before.
Oh, welcome back to Gunters Universe, everyone. How are y'all doing tonight? Got a healthy crowd out here. Everybody's looking sort of lively here in the metaverse. I got one clapper over there. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's going to be a great show. My guest tonight is Justion Fields, founding member and president of Ironklad Studios. Justin is a concept designer and consultant for the film and video game industry. Justin has worked on Goosebumps, Jupiter Ascending, Iron Man 3, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, Halo 5, Star Citizen, The Division, and a whole lot more. Over the course of his career, Justin became a 3-time winner of 3D Total Excellence Award and took a ZBrush title belt in 2015. His artwork is featured on Artstation. She has an awesome page there. Been looking at it all day. And he served as a judge on ConceptArt World, Kotaku, Slashfilm, ComicBookMovie, Sketch Zone. Oh man, there's so much more. What else do you teach at Schoolism, Brainstorm Studio, Digital Tutors, even more there. Without further ado, everyone, let's welcome Justion Fields to the show. Yeah.
Hey everybody.
Welcome, man. Really glad you could come on the show. Welcome to our little metaverse here. Hope you feel
it's very cool. Very cool. This is a very new experience for me, but I'm totally digging it. This is really cool.
Cool. With us as well is my co-host Bob, aka Cause and Effects. How's it going, buddy?
It's going great. How are you tonight, Gunnar?
Doing pretty good. I've been awake for a lot of many hours right now, so I'm feeling a little loopy, but I'm feeling good to do a show. I think it might make it more interesting. All right. So let's kick things off with, the kind of background stuff. Tell us a little bit about yourself, maybe some of your schooling, beginning of your career.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, honestly, it kind of goes all the way back to, in high school, I always wanted to be a comic book artist. And where I grew up, it was Midwest. There wasn't a lot of options for art students to go to and whatnot. And honestly, I gave up for like 10 years. I didn't try doing anything. I was probably the most professional pizza delivery guy you've ever met in your life. But I ended up finding a school that really made it enticing to go back to school. And that was the Noman School of Visual Effects, and that's located in Los Angeles, California. And
cool. So you took off from Midwest, went out to LA to go to school?
Yeah. And I went to be a part of the 3-year program, and essentially at that point I was unable to continue. I was there for about a year, maybe a year and a term or something like that. And I was lucky enough to score a internship at a design house and immediately start working on feature films. And after about 2 weeks of doing cleanup, I was asked to start doing some creature designs, and that was pretty fun.
Holy crap, that's pretty epic. Wow. Doing cleanup for 2 weeks and then making monsters and stuff. That's great.
Yeah. That story is a pretty good one. Literally, the boss came to me and was just like, oh, you finished early this week. ZBrush, right? And why don't you go ahead and, do a creature for me, and we'll see how it goes. And I was like, yeah, totally no ZBrush. Didn't know ZBrush at all. Mild panic attack. I went home and was like, oh, man, I got to learn everything I can. So I luckily, a lot of the artists there were very friendly and helped teach me. I get to, be right next to them. So when I had a question, I could just ask it. And that kind of learning, man, you can't beat it. And then, sooner than later, I got hired and, worked with ZBrush almost as a speed sculptor for about 8 months. And then I went freelance.
Wow.
after that, I was lucky enough to score a job working on Goosebumps with some really heavy hitters, which was really cool.
Yeah. So, I think we're gonna get into some like advice, career advice, because there's a lot of people that are artists around here, or up and coming artists and developers, and aspire for similar things. And two things that come to mind is that one that you did that was a good move, maybe a good decision, is move to where the work is, or move to where the good school is, or where or the other artists would be at. You know, being isolated is going to be an issue. And then the other was fake it until you make it. Like, tell people, yeah, I do ZBrush, and then go learn it over the weekend. Go to digital tutors and watch your videos or something.
I would absolutely, you know, there is a little bit of that mentality that goes a little bit overboard here in Hollywood, where there is a lot of fakers until they make it. I guess if you know you can pick things up relatively quickly, and you're that kind of person, you know what I mean, like, then you can totally do that. I mean, and with everything that's out there, you just type it into YouTube and you're gonna find a tutorial that somebody's made. You know what I mean? You're not going to be an expert, but you're not going to be an idiot at something. You're going to understand. You know, you may be a noob, but you know, as long as you get the job done, especially when it comes to artwork, it doesn't really, you know, it doesn't really matter. You could noodle on something forever, but when it's due, it's due. You know what I mean? It's never done. It's just due.
Yeah, that's the truth. It's never done. I do some graphic stuff, web stuff for my day job, and it's hard being under the deadline, but if it wasn't there, I'd never get anything done. Never happy
Very
with
true.
it.
Very true.
So you kind of like started off in like 2D graphics world. Did you always want to get to 3D, or is there some point along the way where you just kind of transitioned over?
Well, you know, it's very strange. I'm almost in a new type of profession when it comes to the concept art world, where it's relatively new in the last 5 to 6 years, where a lot of the illustrators are diving into 3D. And I wouldn't say that I'm a master of 3D or anything like that. I don't know how to make anything that would work in, say, Unity or Unreal or anything like that. I'm purely using 3D as a way to get my idea across as a conceptual artist. You know what I mean? Like, so. You know, a lot of my sculpts are, they're 50 million polys. There's no way you could open that in any program, at least that I know of. So, I mean, it all comes down to me using it as a way to do rapid ideation and get my point across to a director or a client.
That's fascinating.
But yeah, I mean, it's really fun. The 3D stuff, for me, I want to say I've always had an interest in it. I always loved video games. Believe it or not, I had a very short stint as a professional Diablo 2 beta tester at Blizzard before World of Warcraft hit. Yeah, that was one of the moments where you go, yeah, I ended up like leaving Blizzard right before they needed concept artists, like a lot of them. And like if I would have been there, I would have owned stock at this point. You know what I mean? Like, god damn, why did I move home? That was a dumb idea.
Sort of funny coincidence is Ron Millar was one of the designers at Blizzard back then, and definitely on Diablo 2 and earlier things like Lost Vikings and that, when they were doing interplay stuff. And he's now one of the he's our designer here at VRChat. He came on board maybe 6 months ago. Met him in the metaverse, actually another social VR platform, and then came here and really fell in love with all the creative side of everything. And he left after StarCraft, so he can talk about a little bit about leaving before the huge boom, but being a part of all the beginning. So he's got so many cool stories. If you're ever around, you meet Ron, it's pretty cool.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I dig this. Like, I'm totally going to show up for more of these. This is great.
Yeah, definitely, man. We get some interesting talks around here. It's pretty special. I'm really humbled because I don't come from a background of doing this sort of thing. I really didn't plan to do this, but I've kind of come into it, really enjoy it, and here we are in VR talking to each other.
It's pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. Yeah. I'm just curious, like, if the cleaning lady is going to come into my office right now. And I'm just like talking to nobody in my.
Sure. I hope she does. I hope this happens while...
I feel like someone's filming me right now, actually, in my
Right.
office, and I'm like, oh god.
That is one of those things about VR. I'm at home naked, so it's no big deal. I just lock the
Sweet.
door. For you guys, a little different. She would definitely feel very awkward if you were naked at the office.
Yeah. Just doing this. Just like going, hey, what's going on?
This is some new cyber sex stuff. I could tell. I'm out of here. Nope. All right. So tell me a bit about. Well, actually, I want to talk about comics before getting into Ironclad. So you actually had a love for comic books. I love some comic books. Like, who were some of the artists that you were digging? What time period? Or what kind of books were you digging?
Oh yeah. So my comic book heroes were. I want to say I just got into reading comics, and I can remember the first comic I bought, which was at like a truck stop, which was Usagi Yojimbo. Do you guys remember that one? Yeah,
Sure.
yeah, I know the turtle guy knows.
TMNT. Yeah. I was just
So
looking
I
at
remember
the action
getting
figure
those.
a couple weeks ago on eBay. That's funny.
Yeah.
Just searching them out.
So I started collecting those, and then I got into the world of like Spider-Man and Marvel and stuff like that, and really fell in love with Todd McFarlane's work. Like that was right when he was, I think,
Sure.
in the middle of that amazing run that he did for Spider-Man, and then like I guess they gave him his own book.
I have that. Yeah, the first Venom. Yeah, man.
Mm-hmm. Those were so good, and
Yeah.
after I saw that, I was like, man, I really like the idea of that you can be creative as a job. Not doing the same thing over and over, and you can, become really good at drawing. So, like, I really focused on that in my high school years. And I want to say that's right around the time when they all left and started Image Comics.
Yep.
So when it was a thing, it was just starting. I remember just being like, that's so awesome. A group of artists got together and made their own publishing company. That's awesome, And I think that DC ultimately bought them, didn't they? I think DC owns
I don't know. They
Image
bought
Comics
Vertigo.
now.
I don't know about Image.
I'm not sure, but I know that from Image
Wouldn't be
came
surprising.
Top Cow, which has got you got awesome Mark Silvestri. He's always an awesome artist to watch. You had what was it, Fathom? That was a great series by the late Michael Turner. Yeah, dude, I could go on for comics for days.
Yeah, we'll geek out maybe a little after the show or something. Not everybody here.
Stephen Platt. Does anybody read Moon Knight? Yeah, no.
No, but Bone, actually, I saw some stuff on your site for the Bone series, some like 3D modeling printed stuff.
Oh yeah.
Something.
So Ironclad started out about 3 years ago, and it's kind of a collection of freelance artists here in Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
And so the work that you're talking about was from Justice Joseph, and he is a extremely talented sculptor, whether it's traditional and digital. Yeah, he's amazing.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I have some slides I'm going to put up, and various people at Ironclad's work, of course, including your own. But yeah, let's get into Ironclad. How did that begin? It's a really cool idea having this collective. I mean, I in VR folks, some of me and my friends formed a team called Team Metatron, and like the DK1 days, 3 years ago, we wanted to do more than just try to play games, and I always loved this idea of this distribution and this everybody's contributing, and so yeah, tell me about Ironclad.
So honestly, I was probably halfway through my time at Goosebumps when I was working on Goosebumps, and I was really tired of working freelance just straight out of my home. I excelled as an artist when I was around people, when I could ask questions or other people could ask me, and I could reaffirm the knowledge that I've already gained that sometimes you forget if you don't talk about it or demonstrate it. It really hones in your skills, and I miss that almost camaraderie that you had with other artists that you got to work with every day, So I took a look at what I could do with the money I had earned from working on Goosebumps. And at that point, I was like, well, I can either save it and be okay for a while, or I can try this idea. And I was like, you know what? This won't be the last movie I work on. I'll work on another. Let's try this. So what I did was I started really paying attention to a lot of other business models that were successful, and how do I make that my own, right? And honestly, what I looked at was a barbershop. You know, a lot of people pay for their chair in a barbershop, right? And then their customers come in, they get they pay a rental fee and maybe some of the tips or something like that, and I was like, well, why don't I just build a place that has space for artists to work, invite one or two, tell them my idea, and be like, guess what? I'm not here to try and make money off you guys, but if we just make sure that the overhead is taken care of, we'll determine desk rent by that or something.
Okay, yeah.
And I go, and if you guys want to pay a little bit extra, I'll make sure that, the fridge and the kitchen and the studio is always stocked with whatever you guys want or whatever, Yeah. And that took off, and before I knew it, I had a full studio of people wanting to work here, and then, the jobs started coming in, and I started to notice that I could start pitching us as a team. And then, everybody, even if, like you say, if the team only called for 4 and there was 5 in the studio, if you didn't get onto the job, you could still make your own freelance. It's totally open. It was a free studio. I wasn't asking for a cut of anything or anything like that. It was just business as usual, the freelance lifestyle, but you get to work with other artists in a collaborative environment.
Yeah, benefiting from the things that groups and larger teams benefit from.
Yeah.
But
and
less
from there,
and all the other overhead of like running things, just the time and the energy. That's smart.
Yeah, I mean, we're still coming to terms with that. I'm getting used to putting out a lot of fires before they happen,
Gotcha.
or being on the lookout for the next job that I can get the team while working on my own art stuff and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's been pretty cool. And about, I want to say about 7 months ago, we caught the eye of an investor and we got funded. So no one pays desk rent anymore. Yay!
All right.
Oh, cool.
Desk rent free.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some of your notable works. You mentioned Goosebumps. That's pretty cool. I enjoyed that movie. I saw it in the theater.
I thought it was it was a great movie for the younger audiences, and Jack Black was great in it, and it was I had a lot of fun.
A nice family flick.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, like, what parts of it? Is there anything that, like, what did they hire you for? What did you do?
On some of that, so in the beginning, we all kind of got to touch a little bit of each of the creatures or each of the classic Goosebumps monsters. I did the praying mantis. Some of the space aliens I collabed with Carlos Huante on. That was a lot of fun. And what else did we do? I did the gnomes. There was a tentacle monster that was a lot of fun. Big.
Nice.
There's a big. Came out of like lockers and stuff. Trying to remember.
Yeah, good.
You gotta realize, like, it was a good chunk of those guys. Lots of aliens. Got to design a lot of aliens for that. And there was always the ongoing joke of, like, who gets to design Invisible Boy.
Awesome. I'm sitting here trying to find some screenshots that I pulled up, and I'm just having trouble navigating the system that I use here on the screen. So,
there's that one's the purple one is Goosebumps alien that I got to flesh out and work with Carlos Huante on. That was nice.
Unfortunately, just not big enough for here. I was in a rush putting you had so many images and then videos weren't working. I had to group them up quickly. But what people should do is go to your website, justionfields.com and ironkladstudios.com, because right up front and center is all this great, delicious artwork and then links to like your Artstation is really epic, and there's a couple reels, videos, and stuff I saw. So,
well, thank you.
You do yourself a favor and check that out. It's really cool. Planet of the Apes, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
that came before Goosebumps. So yeah, right? Wouldn't that have been a little while back? Yeah. How did you land that gig?
That was at another design studio, so I was hired as a freelance artist to come in and work on that. And the fun part about that was seeing it transition between two directors. So they had a director lined up, and then they ended up going with a different director, but it totally changed the vibe once the new director came on board. We did a lot of stuff that was originally very urban warfare. Like, we did a lot of apes wearing a lot of like tribal stuff, whatever they could put on or gather. It was almost like Mad Max meets Planet of the Apes for a while. And it was really cool to see like how the clan warfare and stuff like that would have worked out. But when we stopped what we were doing and we went the other route and went more, I want to say like Aborigine, or Aboriginal. I'm probably misusing that word. But we gathered a lot of reference from a lot of the tribes that are still out there, and it was just like, well, let's build this world as if like it's the Indians rediscovering a grown over world, and the humans are barely there anymore, but it's just like, how do you figure that out and develop that as a world? And that's probably the best part about my job is to figure out what the rules of that world is.
That's quite a drastic change in art direction. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, it was really, really, really interesting. And it was almost like somebody hit pause and was like, nope, let's do something else. Let's go down a different path. And ultimately, I think what you got was a better movie. Is sometimes if it's not working design-wise, you got to stop, hit the reset button, and even let the artwork inspire a new script or inspire other ideas for things to happen. And I think that's something that you miss out on if you don't find the right team of collaborators. If you're a shop that shotgun attempts everything, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I personally think that if you do it right in the pre-production phase, you can save yourself millions of dollars when it comes to shooting a film. But that's easy to say when my job is in the pre-production area.
So all the artwork that you did with a change, that'll happen pre-production, or did any of the shooting start?
Oh yeah, it all happened It was all pre-production. And by all means, at the place that I was at, I was only one of the artists that was working on it. I think at one point there was like 10 of us all working on it, plus other artists from outside of that design house. But yeah,
which is probably common with these big projects.
Oh yeah, you'd be surprised how many times you'll meet other artists and be like, yeah, I'm working on this, and they'll be like, oh yeah, so am I. And you have no idea, in your friends, and you're like, oh, well, I guess we're both working on this movie, which I don't know.
That's pretty sweet.
I mean, it's great, but I don't think it helps the project. I don't think that by splitting people up and not telling other people or not sharing what other people have done, you run the risk of other artists coming up with the same idea, or maybe them not collaborating on an idea that could have been way better than the original. I think you should.
Are they doing that on purpose, keeping it separated, or they're just not doing the effort
for some
to
reason?
Do it?
I mean, I feel like the reasoning would be like, we just want to make sure we're getting different stuff from everybody, and I'm like, well, then you should show everything, and you won't get the same stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If artist A, if his designs aren't jiving with what you're wanting to do, why not share that artwork with artist B and say, don't do any of this? right? And go,
exactly.
oh, okay, well now I have a rock to stand on and figure out, well, maybe I can take it this way. It just seems like a misappropriation of, funds to me. But yeah, it's very strange. It can be very, very chaotic in the pre-production phase. But yeah.
Tell
me
that
you've worked on. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So now that you've kind of you've worked on like a lot of movies and VFX, and you know a lot of people, do you stick around for credits in movies now to like see if you know people that are?
Oh, always.
I love that. I love that question.
Yeah, always. It's just one of those things where, and I don't judge people that don't do it, but if you work in the industry, you should at least stay through the credits. You'd be surprised how many people you see that you know or that you've worked with in the past, and then you can be like, hey man, I saw that movie, do that, that's awesome, that's honestly, that's what we do this for. We do this to entertain other people, and we enjoy doing so, so anytime you get credit, it's always, it makes the year, sometimes, just a month, or even, it could be a terrible movie, but as long as you got credit for it, you know what I mean? Like, there's something about that that's really great.
Sure.
And, we all, there's all a part of us that work in the film industry that we do enjoy seeing our name up there in the credits. That's totally awesome to me. Like, my first job was in a movie theater, and seeing that happen is such a trip. And I love it every time it happens, but there's also a political side to it in Hollywood, where sometimes you just don't make the cut, even though you worked 3 years on that movie. You know what I mean? Like that.
Oh, really?
It seems like a terrible thing, but it happens all the time, and I hope that changes in the industry, because if you work on a film, you should get a credit, no matter if it's for a day or two, or whatever. I don't know. I feel like. Don't get me wrong, I love the
roll on for
caterers.
another 5 minutes. Not a big
Right.
deal.
Right. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Except the guy that maybe had to type all the names in. Maybe he cares.
Yeah.
So do you go to movies with friends who've either worked on a movie or one that you've worked on?
Oh, all the time. All the time. It's you can't throw a rock in Hollywood without meeting somebody that works in the industry that you know, or that you have mutual interests with all the time. Yeah. Usually at the office, we try to, if a major movie's coming out, we try to plan a movie night where everybody shows up, and it's always fun, and everybody brings friends of friends, and the next thing you know, one of the guys that worked on the movie was here, or perhaps maybe the guy that did the title work for the film is in the crowd of groups, you know what I mean? And it's all fun. I guess if you're into the film culture, if you love movies, there's no better place to live than like Hollywood or Los Angeles. There's just so much film events, free information, going to Noman events, figuring out, seeing the makings of, going to old film sets or film locations. Like we did that as a group, as an office. We went to all the Back to the Future locations on the date or whatever that came true this year.
Really?
That was fun. Yeah. That was a lot of fun.
October 23rd, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
2016 or 2015. Yeah, that's pretty rad. We had a Back to the Future environment brought in here, and we celebrated it.
That's great.
The,
what was it?
The main Back to the Future square, the town.
Oh, that's great.
Escaping me.
Hits.
Yeah, exactly. The clock.
That's amazing.
The fact that I can't remember the name of the town is ridiculous. And
Hill
that
Valley.
none of us
Hill
have
Valley.
Hill
yeah.
Valley.
Hill Valley.
Thank you. Yes.
10 points for Gryffindor.
So I'm gonna ask one more question before we dive into VR, because we got to get into the VR stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Just what's your favorite, one of your favorite projects out of all this? I mean, I see Maleficent up there. I see Noah up there. Some epic art, epic projects. What was one of your favorite ones, and why?
Man, there's been a lot. Most recently, I got to work on a Spider-Man video game. and getting to help design like the new suit and stuff like that. I didn't choose the colors, but that was kind of like a childhood dream come true, where you get to, you know, you get to do some Spider-Man work. That was awesome. Yeah. It's the new, I believe it's for Insomniac Games. I was only on it for a short amount of time, but you can definitely see from like my ZBrush sculpts like what they've taken for the new outfit and everything, and like getting to watch that, because sometimes actually you won't know who your client is. Like some third party will reach out to you and be like, I need you to design this, and you're like, well, what's it for? And they're like, well, we can't tell you. And you're like, well, all right, okay, I guess I'll work on it.
Money's
you know,
money.
like money's money.
Or cool project.
And you know, and it was like Spider-Man, so you can't say no. But I just remember coming into work and then just like watching like the E3 feed, you know, where everything's coming up and you get to see all the new games coming out, and I'd literally forgot all completely about that I did stuff for Spider-Man, and then like it shows like the suit, and I'm like, oh my god, that's my suit, you know, and you're like, oh. Or you can definitely see like influences and stuff, and I was like, oh, that's cool. You know, I'm sure that, you know, I was probably, you know, a very minor artist that worked on that. I'm sure there's hundreds of other artists that worked on the creation of that character, but like it was surreal to see little design influences that I had made make it into that. It was definitely cool.
Love it. And then, but right before we get into VR, there's other games that you've done some work on, and you know, one that's standing out right now is Star Citizen. I've been following that for a while. I haven't really been following it tightly so much, but in the beginning, I when I backed the game, it's pretty exciting for somebody that's into VR, because there is promised VR support. Not sure when that's going to happen, but quite you know, an epic I don't know, mission that they're doing, the game that they're trying to build, and the amazing crowdfunding they've done. What was your experience like? What did you do with them?
I was brought on to help develop ship weapons, so that was a lot of fun, and it was very cool how they set up their branding. You know, every starship has a manufacturer, and every manufacturer has a style. And the fact that they went that in depth with the design and seeing a little bit of the behind the scenes, you know, I'm anxious to play the game. I want it out now. You know what I mean? Like, I cannot wait. But that was a really, really fun experience, and I've been a huge fan of Wing Commander since my first computer games were installed on floppy. You know, those were amazing. So that was always really, really cool to know that like I got to work with Chris Roberts, not directly, but you know, through the wire, I guess. And that was a short period that I got to work on some of the guns and some first person shooter stuff, and that was a lot of fun. I definitely do it again if asked. Absolutely.
Cool. What's the top right image up there? I didn't realize what game that was. If you could tell, it's from that screenshot.
That looks like
Actually, it's pretty small.
Is that Blizzard?
It looks like a Blizzard game.
Okay.
So did you work on that? Yeah.
So we did ultimately we did through another vendor. We did some work for doing some marketing artwork for World of Warcraft and Hearthstone. And that was fun. That was a lot of fun to do. We worked with a couple artists that were very familiar with the franchise. I myself, I hate to admit, but I was going strong, and then Legion came out, and I was like, crap, I got to buy this game.
Oh,
so
you
now
did
I'm
it?
playing it again. Yeah. I think I stopped at Lich King and was playing that for like 5 years straight.
Yeah.
But that was a fun job. That was a fun thing we got to do. We got to work with some people at League of Legends. Got to do some internal artwork for some of their IP. What else have we done? We did some really cool animatics for The Division, and essentially what that is they gave us concept art, and then we have to kind of make it animated. right?
Mm-hmm.
And I believe there's some samples on Ironklad's website. But it's like, if you paint tarps, then we gotta simulate the tarps and make sure that the CG work is all realistic and cool looking, and how that works. It was a lot of fun. It was a learning. I guess I can't think of the word right now. It's brain freezing. Experience. Derp. Yep.
Gunter and I spent a lot of time in that game.
Yeah, we actually did spend some good time in it. Well, you guys played it. Some of our other friends played it more. I basically did mostly just the beta. You and everybody else played it.
Right. Yep.
It's fun.
Cool game.
I got pretty far in it, but not brave enough to jump into the dark zone just yet. But I'd say the game that I'm cracking out on right now is Overwatch.
Me too.
Yeah, love the Overwatch.
Yeah, me too. I was a big TF2 player, and so that's my jam. What level are you?
I think I'm about to be 100. I don't know. I don't get to play it too often. But
that's good. I'm 99. So.
Oh really?
Yep.
But I'm trying to think here. I think what intrigues me the most is like I don't know what I can say about the Overwatch story or anything like that without spoiling it for anybody else, but like to know that game came off the backbone of a failed project.
Yeah.
Is so interesting to me.
Yeah.
That they're just like, well, we have all this stuff. What do we do with it? You know what I mean? And they're like, oh, let's just make a game-changing first-person shooter, and be like, oh, you know what I mean? Like if this was an afterthought, I gotta know what they were gonna do. Yeah. Like that part of it, and it really intrigues me, and all the fun little coded messages that they're doing.
Yep.
Have you guys
Sombra,
seen any of that stuff? Yeah.
The rumored spy, and you see little pieces in the game.
And people are seriously like trying to decode like encrypted data.
It's crazy. Yeah.
And I'm like, what a great game! Like this marketing campaign, what they did with that is what Halo 2 should have been. Remember when there was like a secret website you would go to, and there was transmissions and stuff you could listen to.
Not myself,
for Halo 2.
No.
Oh man, it's like they took it to another level. They took it to another level. It was amazing. But yeah.
Yeah, Overwatch is great. So much good there. All right, VR. So, okay, you're into VR. How did that happen?
So VR happened this year to me. I was at GDC and I was doing demonstrations at the Wycombe booth, and it was one of those things where I normally at conventions and stuff like that, it's hard to even really get around because you're supposed to be there at a certain time. Right. You got to do a lot of things, and then you can leave, and then by the time you're ready to check stuff out, you're exhausted and you just don't want to deal with anything. But the moment I walked in, the entire floor at GDC was nothing but VR. Every single station, everything had VR. And I was like, well, maybe I should check this out now. And I was lucky enough to, with a friend, get in to the ILM VR booth and check that out. And that was a lot of fun, and got to play like the whole lightsaber game, and got to climb the Himalayas. And when I saw the graphic quality and the fact that I didn't get motion sickness, I was like, oh man, this is it. This is the future.
Yeah.
Like we're there.
You were thinking maybe there'd be motion sickness issue. Had you experienced anything, I don't know, the old 90s or something?
Yeah. A little bit. I had tried it back then, and it just didn't feel very solid to me. Felt like a gimmick. Yeah. You know what I mean? And after this year, I was like, no, this is it. And then after, I think before we started, we were talking about Ready Player One. This is it, guys. Like this is just almost an industry-changing event that these headsets are available with this quality and this level of interaction is just amazing, and it's just going to get better and better. I for one,
Yeah, so you see the big paradigm shift with this? Is it like a new medium, you know, a new level of communication? So we're not just, transferring ideas through audio and little image on screen, but we're now putting ourselves in environments. You talk about like environmental design. Here's like the best canvas for any sort of environmental artist.
With the Google
what are you going to do with this medium?
Yeah. That'd be amazing. Yeah. I mean, what if you guys were both, Hollywood execs, and you could log into the machine, or it was your director or anything like that, and you could push a button and bring up designs here in front of you of the sculpts that anyone has created, or the paintings. You could be on a virtual set and be like, no, I want this to be moved here, or I want this to be moved over here, and then by the time you make it to set, say in New Zealand at Weta, it's all the adjustments have been changed. I think it's an amazing tool to be used for whether it's previs or whatever. Unreal has become super, super easy to learn and get in there and make stuff work, and it's just awesome. I love it.
Yeah, the whole rapid prototyping ability that VR now brings. I mean, we could prototype, simulate anything that we can, put our minds around, and it gets close to like what real life is. So yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. Do all the prototyping, previs stuff in that sort of way. Yeah, before it gets costly. It's going to be really interesting to see what people are able to do.
I mean, I love the fact that the controllers are mapped to your hands, and like I can totally see your mannerisms.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you're totally seeing all of this kind of stuff. It's really interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. I saw Oberon raise his hand. I don't know if you wanted to ask a question or you just.
I actually did. If that's all right.
Anytime.
Mainly to all three of you, actually. Have you guys had a chance to check out augmented reality as well as virtual?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very excited to see what Leap is doing, and the Microsoft HoloLens. I'm really trying to get one of those in the office to see what we could play with. Lots of opportunity for that. The smaller it gets, the better it's going to be.
Of course, and we know that'll happen. I'm freaking happy with how I've been happy with it since the DK1, which is 3 years ago. Was flipping out just with that stuff, and it's getting really, really good. And it's great to see so many people are starting to adopt it, or in the major industries, the entertainment industry, which is now lots of people in that field are finding it. I mean, gaming and entertainment are kind of like the big fronts, and then there'll be like education. Of course, porn's going to come in here. Everybody's waiting for that.
What do you mean? It already has? Did you hear about what happened in Japan?
No.
There was a.
Well, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff.
There was a big event. It was like basically a VR porn event that happened in Japan, and they had to shut the whole thing down because so many people showed up. It was a fire hazard.
That's funny.
It's out there.
Great. I have to I think I remember seeing that on Kotaku or whatever. The only thing that I could think of the whole time when I saw that was just like the Futurama episode where it was just like, don't date robots. And I was like, oh my god, we're really there. We've hit that.
Robosexuals.
Or what was it the other day? Like somebody came, they're like, these mats, if you stomp on them, create electricity. And I was like, wait, wasn't this just on Rick and Morty? Like,
oh my god.
What the hell?
People taking ideas from cartoons.
It's freaky when TV shows start predicting the future.
Oh yeah.
So do you see like a lot of VFX artists, like your peers, getting really excited about VR? Do you think a lot of them are kind of taking a wait and see kind of attitude?
I think the ones that are experimenting and painting and trying to integrate it into their workflow are going to be the top dogs in the next 5 years when it comes to this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I think that the price point is a little scary for a lot of artists, and it's a hefty price to get a rig, that can support it. But the ones that are the early adopters are going to be the ones that are most adapt to it, and those are the ones that are going to push the tech forward. They're going to come up with ways to integrate it into a workflow or to get a client excited about it. And from there, the sky's the limit, You just look at everything that's going on, even in education, especially with the art world. Art degrees that are almost unattainable and so expensive. You're getting, if not better, education by going to a house that is ran by actual artists working in the industry. A lot of what we do in the film industry, you don't need a degree for. You don't. You need the wherewithal to know how to do it, and you need to be reliable, and you need to be passionate about it. But most importantly, you got to be able to get along with your fellow people. You know what I mean? Like, if no one wants to work with you, you're not going to be working long in this town. That's for sure. But I mean, I've been a teacher at Red Engine. I'm a teacher at Brainstorm. There's so many amazing options. There's Learn Squared, which is a great platform put together by some amazing artists. It's never been a better time to learn with so many resources available. Even like you could literally be like, oh, I want to know more about 3D printing. You could spend an entire day watching YouTube videos and other workshops and events and stuff like that. And the next thing you know, the time that it takes someone to be of a relevant master or a knowledgeable in that field is a lot less these days. I grew up in a time where it was like you have to put in 10,000 hours, where I'm actually kind of figuring out like that's not really a true thing anyways. But back when I was learning, I had one source of information, and that was school. That was it. Now, if you want to learn how to code, you can learn how to code from home. And if you devote 5 days a week, 8 hours a day to something, in 6 months you're going to be pretty damn knowledgeable about that. You might actually have found something that a seasoned veteran who's been nose down in the code. Well, what the hell was that? Is it deja vu? Where's the blue pill?
Yeah.
Morpheus. This is amazing.
Someone new, Joe Nova, showed up. So hey, Joe. He or she popped in real quick, and it's a glitch in the matrix. But welcome, and glad you found your way here. But yeah.
I mean, it's super cool. Super cool stuff.
Yeah. So you got introduced to VR this year. Had you been thinking about it before you were introduced? Was it on your radar at all?
It was kind of on my radar, but it had such a high price point to jump into right away. And I was a
who
little
knows thing, right?
Right, and then after I came back from GDC, I spoke to my business partner and was just like, "Hey, man, like this is now an industry that even the top dogs like Blizzard, Riot, Microsoft, all these heavy hitters, 343, Bungie, all these guys, right? They're trying to get into this space just as fast as we are." But if you've noticed anything when it comes to bigger companies, it takes longer to innovate. Whereas a small team that knows Unreal really well, working in a garage, could put out something that changes the VR world forever. And I think that it's an exciting time for new companies to jump into this space. And be on common ground. I mean, they're going to have marketing money, but you know what travels more? And I've never understood how much money it puts into like billboards. When was the last time you guys looked at a billboard and was like, "I'm seeing that movie"?
I can't even think. I
right?
hate billboards. I don't look at.
You'd rather see a really cool video on YouTube showing you what might come out, right?
Sure, absolutely.
So, and that costs nothing to promote. It could go viral. If enough of us shared a certain type of a video, it would probably get to 1 million hits within a week. You never know. You know, and that's what I love about this industry is that you don't have to have the billions at your disposal. You can just be creative and innovate something. Mm-hmm. And it's amazing to me. It's a great
Everybody
time.
now has access to that same thing.
And things are getting easier to use.
That. Yeah, and because of internet technologies and now VR is going to add to the equation of what can we create now. Anybody with motion controls might be able to sculpt the imaginations that's inside their heads and have their loved ones walk through it with them, or we don't know.
That'd be great.
Now when we maybe I imagine like I have a lot of people in life that I'm not really a creative type or they don't consider any of that, but I feel like it's probably there, but it's just the tools aren't accessible, or I feel like VR might be able to provide those tools for people to start expressing. And
absolutely,
I could even see like fancy stuff like where you can speak and things come out from your speech, they materialize, and if people could really use different ways of input like that to really start getting out.
VR.
Like Scribble Nuts, yeah. That'd be sweet.
Absolutely. I mean, it's funny, right? Like but I can tell you right now, if there was a version of this that allowed you to all be in one room and do a PowerPoint or something, right? In this space, it would take over the business world. This is the coolest thing ever to be able to.
These things are all here,
Yeah, and it's right here, and it's available at your disposal. Someone's gonna, come up with the next greatest thing, sitting here at this table, discussing it with you guys. That's how crazy the industry is right now for VR. And
yeah. I've already seen people exploding with their paths that they've started taking, and it's pretty impressive. And they have been around the table, and yeah, it's so interesting. So, do you have anything on your mind? Like, okay, now I'm getting into VR. Have you started working on a thing? Maybe you can talk about it. Maybe you can't.
Well, so here at Ironklad, there's a couple IPs that we've been working on, and stories that we want to tell, and we're trying to figure out what's the best way to tell these stories. And I think what I'm going to do with the we have a space western that we want to do. This should be a lot of fun. And we're going to try and make it marketable to be a VR experience, or to figure out maybe we crowdsource money to try and make a video game. I don't know. There's so many options that it's actually extremely hard to figure out which way to go. So I think off the bat we're going to do a book. Ironically, I can't say publishing-wise or anything like that because the deal hasn't been finalized or anything like that, but I was literally on Facebook and I was like, I'm absolutely terrified of doing an art book. And then, 20 minutes later, I had a publisher call me, saying they want to do a book with us. And I was like, well, crap, now I got to do it.
That's pretty funny.
It was like, I guess we'll find out how this works. But, so from there, I'm going to set up, an art book, and it's going to tell a story. But I also want it to talk about why we do things in the order we do things in production. So it gives you a glimpse of how a film gets started, or how do you start gathering your artwork for your film, or how do you plan to go about building out these worlds. I want to do that as it's almost like an art book for the IP, but it's like a mock film project. But it builds out crazy amounts of world building, and I mean, we're developing plant life. That's how crazy in depth we get. We're building social structures and biological insects that mess with the ecosystem, and we're getting that deep into this, and it's some of the most fun I've ever had.
So is this your first original IP, or with Ironklad have you developed other stuff before?
We have a couple. We have a cyberpunk film that we would like to do. We have like 2 animated features, but we have no idea if those will ever come to fruition. You know what I mean? Animated movies are probably the hardest thing to get greenlit in this town. It's just the amount of manpower is outrageous, you know.
Yeah, watching the credits on the 3D animated movies, you can sit there for a long time watching all the names scroll by.
Oh, I still can't believe that Jungle Book was like filmed in Burbank.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like that all the scenes were recreated digitally. Like yeah, and when you watch the credits, you know, and you're just like, oh man, this is an insane amount of people, and then all of a sudden you're like, hey, I went to school with that guy. I went to school with that guy. Hey, I know that guy. You know, or I know that girl. Hey, look, she does this. You know, and you're just like, oh, that's awesome. But then you get to ask how they did
to read
things,
the credits and actually be able to recognize other people than just the.
It's a trip, man. It's a trip.
That's cool.
It's definitely very, very cool. Yeah.
Oberon.
I just want to say there's one thing that, you know, as far as, you know, getting greenlit for those movies go, if Sausage Party can get made, I think you guys have a chance. God, I couldn't eat for a full 24 hours after seeing that movie.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty funny, and then like the last 2 minutes of it, I was like laughing for 10 seconds and was like, okay.
Yeah,
okay,
you can stop now.
Nope, too far.
Yep.
Oh, now I don't want to eat anything.
Oh god, it was just.
It was a cool movie, but it didn't make me laugh enough. It wasn't laugh out loud enough.
Yeah, I think
Really?
I think it needed like one more pass of comedy. You know what I mean? Like put
The
a little bit
punchlines
more
just
in
weren't
there.
Quite as good, you know. They didn't have those.
I felt like it was
was
only
pretty awesome
funny because
gruesome and stuff, but
It was less ha ha, more oh my, I can't believe they did that.
yeah.
But with the stars,
but that wears
I
down
wanted
though.
a bit better jokes.
Yeah,
that's what I was expecting. But still awesome. I pretty much recommend everybody see it.
Justin, do you know anybody who was part of that movie?
No, I don't. I actually heard a couple bad things about that show. Actually, I heard they were mistreated.
That too. Yeah.
Yeah. Which happens very often in Hollywood. I hate to say it. Yeah. It's terrible. It's terrible. But
what do you mean? Like, actually, I have no idea. Like, they're just.
Oh, okay. So I think
their time or.
Yeah, well, they were working double shifts, overtime, overnights, not being paid, and then they didn't even get a credit. You know, that's that. You know, as an artist, like, yeah, you can ask people to, you know, if they love it, they'll stay, they'll work harder, but you have to. As much as that is awesome, you know, that you get that from employees or fellow artists that work with you on certain projects, you still have to be the decent guy and go, no, you've been here for 10 hours today or 14 hours. Go home. No, you know what I mean? Like, know your staff and know your people. If they have a family, get them home. You know, it'll get done. It will get done. But in Hollywood, everything's got to be done quick and fast, and you know, I think that's not the right way to do it. And I'd love for a shot to do, whether it's produce or executive produce or even direct a smaller like horror movie, and just see something with a workable budget that's not insane, and you're not, you know, bending over backwards to get it made. You know, a lot of these horror movies. I think the first Saw was like 15 million, and look how much money it made. You know what I mean? Like, that's not outrageous in terms of a full-blown production. I would love for an opportunity to get 5 million and make something for the fans of, like, you know, classic, you know, Freddy movies or Jason movies. Come up with the next teen slasher, you know, like, that'd be fun. I think that if you did that and did it in a new way, where you were very careful that you weren't going to take advantage of anybody, you were working everybody the appropriate hours, and I'd love to know how much money was saved or lost that way. Just because, I mean, you know, if you're talking, is it saving you a couple thousand? Well, then who cares? You know, at the end of the day, like, if it's saving you millions and millions of dollars, okay, well then maybe I guess the industry needs to change. But I feel I feel like there's a lot of room for new ways and new innovation in how films get made. And it's just interesting to see.
Yeah, I see a lot of the old business ways in many, I don't know, industries, friends of mine that are in education or whatever it would be, and things are changing. I feel like they're getting more hip. The old kind of sterile ways are fading, and other things matter. And flexibility and transparency and other kind of values are popping up, and I don't know. I think that's something to do with maybe our generation. I don't know.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's important to take care of your people. I think it's important to make sure they get accredited where credit is due, and go above and beyond to make sure that they're happy. And I think that no matter what, I'd rather have friends in this industry than enemies. And I just don't, if it feels wrong, it probably is wrong. That's my motto. Usually when it comes to dealing with anything in this industry. If it feels wrong, don't do it. Something else will come along.
So, okay, some more VR stuff. What'd you say you tried on VR, your first experience?
I believe it was like a Everest. It was on the Vive. And to me, the Vive was a really, really step in at the right direction. Like, I was lucky enough to play with the Oculus controllers, you know what I mean? And that was a lot of fun at Facebook. I just don't understand why they didn't launch it with the console. I think that hurt them in the long run. But yeah.
Yeah, we've argued that a lot and wonder. At this point, I almost feel like it's not going to matter as much because Touch is going to launch here soon.
Yeah.
Something like PlayStation hasn't launched yet either. It does suck though that it does suck that it didn't launch at the same time, and apparently they could have, but they really wanted the software package to be tight, and that's what I'm really looking forward to seeing. And because there's a lot of stuff on Vive that kind of enjoyed a lot, but haven't been engaged with it in a while, and I believe that's what some of the stuff that I've read recently is that the Steam VR games are kind of plummeted in how much use they're being played, but who's to say what that even means? There's so many, what are stats,
Well, I equate it to a bunch of guys that can know how to make a game, but they don't know how to tell a story.
Yeah,
story is
absolutely
what drives you through a game like this, and it's a new world, so it's kind of hard to write stories that are completely immersive and first person, because you never know what the person's going to choose or what that goes. You get a lot of survival horrors, you get a lot of zombie games. That's cool and all, but you got to make something that's worth coming back and playing all the time. And I think the more and more multiplayer stuff happens, I mean, dude, how cool would it be if you were you got to play your favorite champion in League of Legends, but you were running around on the battlefield and it was like totally low to the ground. Like, that'd be amazing. I'd play the hell out of that. Or, what if you could, like, at this table we were playing a real-time strategy and you could see units move, but at any moment we could teleport down almost Battlefield style into one of those and take control of one of the units just for fun. Or maybe we played it and you got a power up and got to do that, and it made it made it even more fun. Ironically, you're wearing Tron, but that's totally a universe I would jump into. It's one of my all-time favorite movies.
Mine too, man. Of course. Yeah.
I actually have an original movie poster in my apartment of the first Tron.
Excellent. I was thinking of getting a Tron and some other VR movie posters in my room here.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
You gotta have that. You gotta have Lawnmower Man. You gotta have. What else is there? Hackers. That's not really VR.
Oh, I love Hackers. I don't.
Did they put on? I think they put on VR.
Well, something. Maybe like.
Oh, who knows?
Lord Nikon had something in his. I don't know.
That was when they were really excited about 128 megabits of RAM. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Yes, they were really, really excited about RISC architecture, and you're like, yeah, that's a dual core. Yeah, okay. That's one of those movies that just doesn't age well. You're just like trying to tell you. tell someone in the office.
Oh, I love it though.
And they're
I'm
like,
glad it
what?
doesn't. I wouldn't like it anymore if it didn't.
You gotta put
It's-
up a
it's
poster
so
of
delicious.
Strange Days.
Yeah,
Yes,
Strange Days.
totally.
Oh,
I love
the
That's
squid and everything. We're headed that way.
Yes.
You watch.
I hope
That'll
so.
happen.
Yeah, I hope so too.
Well, without the murder and the story, the police corruption. Let's have everything but that and have, experiences like that. Which we are. Somebody could jump off a cliff in a squirrel, flight suit with a 360 camera attached to them, and you could just jump right along with them. I think I'd get sick, but that'd be amazing. You'd just be like
Sure.
sitting in your couch. You'd be
There's
like,
all
yeah.
kinds of great 360 videos that do that, right? And being able to experience what other people experience is like, it's just like a human thing, right? Who wouldn't want
Oh,
to,
yeah.
we live vicariously through other people just through mediums like television, but to sort of feel like you are the person or man, it's so crazy. And I can't wait. What we want is, of course, to be stereoscopic, be 3D, be light fields full of, we can move ourselves around in positional space. And that's when things are going to get really exciting. 360 videos right now, I think they're, they don't attract me so much, but there's some awesome ones. And I do like that they're all out there and think people should continue to push that envelope. But really, I guess for us, I don't know, VR nerds, or really, we know what people want is they want that stereoscopic. They want that higher resolution.
Yeah.
It's going to be pretty important for everybody else.
Yeah. That's the part for me that's I'm just super excited about seeing what's next.
I bet.
You got to
So
think
talk a little bit about
tech,
that. Like, what are you thinking as far as like the tech and then that whole story thing, like telling stories in VR worlds? You must be thinking about these things.
Yeah, I would love to gather up some of the greatest storytellers of our time in film and have a roundtable meeting and be like, how can we tell stories in this medium? And it's really, really hard. I've heard stories from, Del Toro trying to tackle something like this, or you get people, from the Stan Winston's crew that try to do this stuff, and it's not easy. It literally quadruples your VR costs, or not your VR, but your visual effects. Because if there's a whole crew that has to be rotoed out behind you, you know what I mean? And then stuff has to be put in that place. It's like you got to film everything 3 different ways, like you'd have to film the left and the right. And if you're trying to tell a story, how do you keep someone's focus when you've got all this going on? You know what I mean? Like, it'd be really hard to keep
some of what
focus.
I was hearing was like the storytellers are starting to take some cue from theater, live performance, and as a way of dealing with things in virtuality, because it's all you're seeing like a performance with on stage without like all the behind the scenes there. People can look anywhere at the action that's unfolding. It doesn't have the cuts, right? It doesn't have zooms and any of that. You're seeing like the raw performance, and that we might are kind of taking cues from that. I'm not actually up on it all, but I find that interesting. I see the theater performance world lending itself well to this.
Yeah.
Right, like using spotlights and sound.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
There's
that's
all
what you're talking
kinds
about
of ways.
with the theater, right?
Yeah, all that.
There's a couple little tricks that we noted, like if you desaturated the world around you, and your target had slightly more richer colors, the human eye will always just tend to focus in on that. You know what I mean? So there's ways psychologically to do it without like tricking someone, because I feel like if the story is not good enough to capture your attention in a completely VR world, it's not that good of a story. It's how do you train someone to tell a story when we've been doing it, 16:9 for the last 30 years. I can keep your attention in a frame, but in this, it's
the focus,
crazy.
attention, and so there's something like though that you want to let go of, like, well, I'm not gonna keep their. I'm gonna tell a story, like you've been around people telling stories, and you haven't always been looking at them or paying attention at, say, a theme park experience that is story driven, but you don't have to be looking at every single certain thing, you may miss it, or maybe it gives lend for replayability to see things differently. But I do think, of course, things like audio cues, spotlights, and visual cues will still be patterns that we'll use like we do in all these other mediums. But what is, like, when you're in a theater, like say like a mystery theater where there's like the actors get inside the audience, and so the next thing you know, you see something on stage, and then one of the actors is all the way in the back, and the spotlight on them, and they're screaming about something. So that's something taking place behind the viewer. So that's like an example from like theater that maybe, something like that, like the Rocky Horror Picture Show, could be a good example of like that translating into something.
Yeah, definitely
entertaining in VR.
Yeah,
pretty interesting stuff. So you're gonna play with cameras at all? Are you into that?
Yeah, my curiosity has been peaking lately on figuring out what kind of cameras I want to use and all that kind of stuff. I'm getting a little bit more into it, for a while I was very interested in cinematography. So yeah, I mean, I think that the intrigue for that world has always been there for me, especially growing up watching, you got Spielberg, you got Ridley Scott, you've got, all the greats like that, Cameron, Lucas, Carpenter, and it's like, in a time where there really wasn't that much of an established industry, you've got people like Steven Spielberg who sneaks onto the Universal lot, claims an empty office, and suddenly he starts getting work. You know what I mean? Like, that's the craziest shit I've ever heard. That's amazing. And the only reason he got caught was because he parked in someone's spot. How funny is that?
I've never heard that. That's great.
Oh yeah, it's a great. There's so many great stories. Like Stan Winston. Him and his crew won their first, Oscar or Academy Award working out of his kitchen. He didn't even have a facility. He's just like, yeah, I'm going to make this movie, and here you go. And then the next thing you know, he's got like an entire career in front of him that he could keep doing what he loves to do, and it's amazing. So I feel the same thing's about to take place with VR, is the ones that have the true passion are going to push it past everything that you think it could be and more. And then you got, the great, we keep talking about Ready Player One, but this is it, man. This is the beta.
Yeah. This is the beginning. This is the stuff that your kids are going to laugh at. This is the awesome good old days. This is the Atari days.
Headsets on.
Yeah, they're like
of VR.
What? I know.
Kids will be born with it built into their eyes. They don't even be. It's like inoculation. It's VR in the eyes.
I just want to play ping pong. Like, I wish there was like you could just play a ping pong sitting down. Just be like, yeah, here we go. Let's do the interview.
We can do that. I can take you to other rooms, and we can do that here. Well, we can do stuff like that here. We have, golf and bowling, and go bowling and throw balls at each other and eat food, and there's all kinds of awesome stuff going on here in VRChat. I mean, the content here is built by community, so it's just whoever wants to use this program. So it's pretty sweet. We'll take you on a tour later. What else we got? Audience, feel free to ask any questions. Jump in at any time. It's really great being able to talk to you about all this stuff from the film industry. You don't always get some people in film out here, so it's really cool. Oh, there's the red pill. You were talking about the blue pill earlier, but
yeah. There's the red pill.
VR pill.
Where's the blue pill? Wait, is that the guy from Left 4 Dead?
Might be.
Yeah,
might be another.
Yeah, I love that game.
Yeah, it's great.
Me too.
We got what is Thorpe back there? Is that Red Dead? I don't know.
Yep.
Thorpe
think so.
Might not have a mic.
It looks like it.
Yeah, that's cool.
How you doing, John?
I love that everybody's just like looking around. You can see everybody's heads moving. This is great.
Oh, so cool. Yeah, man, we've been hanging out here for years now, so you got to come and check out our meetups on Sunday, and that goes for everybody that's new to this. Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. We're hanging. New people are bringing in rooms. We went to the Titanic this last Sunday. Really beautiful asset that was on the Unity Asset Store. We ended up finding that there was like these wires across the top between each of the like stacks. And then you could walk across it. And in the Vive, it was very difficult. You'd fall very easily if you didn't go stay on it, and you'd fall, and it was a pretty good fall, and you felt it. So things like that, just having fun, random stuff. Just come check VRChat out Sundays.
Yeah, definitely.
I
feel like the Stargate is going to open up at any moment in these rooms. Like
we have that too, so we'll show you. We open up portals and we go to the other rooms, so we actually don't have to use.
That's
the menu. It's
amazing.
pretty rad.
I'm never going to leave. You guys are going to have to tell me to leave.
Yeah, we've been here for constant 43 days now. We actually have all just been here.
That's awesome.
Can't get
I'll
out.
have to get a cooler skin.
Morpheus. Yeah. Yes, that's your job. I mean, so you are primed, my friend. You and your team being in 3D and concept artist. This is the field that's going to need. It's going to need this to fuel. I need avatars that look like. I actually didn't get to share all the pictures that I loaded up.
Yeah, hopefully you can decimate some of your.
I'll just keep it playing, or it doesn't play. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean it's something that we've talked about possibly doing even on the Steam platform. So I mean, like I guess you could create a couple avatars, and then I guess it's based on sales. Like I'm not sure how that works, but I'd totally be open for doing something like that to see how that would work. I think that especially when it comes to virtual goods, it has to be affordable and not even like a second guess. You know what I mean? Like I like that there's a lot of free to play games like out there right now, but there's so many games that I feel are amazing, but I don't want to buy in-app purchases. You know what I mean? Like I would rather pay you $60 for this mobile app game that would allow me to play it on a plane, wherever, and it unlocks the full game. But I don't see a lot of people doing that, and it's a different way of looking at things. But it obviously works. Look at Riot. I have a lot of friends that work at Riot, and it's always a trip and amazing to go in there, and it's to see how far that platform could go. When you're in that facility, you're just amazed, and you're like, this is great. What a great place to be as an artist in a totally open environment, learning from everyone, pushing the story, and I love it. I think it's great. I think they voted like the best, the best place to work in the United States or something like that. It was like Riot Games.
Wow.
Yeah. That's not an easy feat.
That's pretty awesome. No,
yeah,
you're competing against Google.
Yeah,
at least.
Yeah.
That's amazing for the game industry, because you usually hear so many horror stories about working for working on a game, and it's you're working ridiculous hours and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, getting that deadline. EA, I think, would be a company to bring up in that instance.
Actually, I got a quick question for Justin. If you could create like any one of your characters as an avatar and then be in this environment as that character, who would it be?
I don't have a picture of him. It would be of my current the space IP. I have a bounty hunter in there that I created and I'm having a blast with, and I'd probably choose him. Or one of the alien guys. I don't know. It'd be fun. Usually like a big guy. Like if I could wear the Hulkbuster right now and just sit in his chair.
That'd be awesome.
You can.
I would never.
It'll look weird, but it's okay. You totally can. You can be any size. We have guys that are giants. I mean, giants aren't gonna tell them to get out, but you can be big. As long as you don't obstruct somebody else's view, I'm cool with it.
That'd be funny if
but no, in some of the other rooms, literally the big Jaegers to scale high. My good friend Olivier, he modeled one up, and it's spinning and animated. It looks brilliant and beautiful. Looks really good. Boba Fett looks pretty damn good for in here, but the Jaeger is even better lighting, better looking. There's some avatars that are really incredible. It just depends.
I like Rocket. Rocket's pretty awesome.
Yeah, Rocket's
Jake
pretty awesome.
Smith. Is that how you say your name, Jake?
Yep.
Awesome.
Of course, some of these are
his little paw was like, "Yep, that's me."
Yep. Groot can be found as well.
That's great.
It's great when you're Groot or Rocket, because your IPD, your everything scales to you, so you feel like everybody's huge when you're Rocket, or when you Groot, everybody's much smaller than you. So playing with stuff like this, how does that apply when you're doing storytelling? You can, Honey, I Shrunk the person in VR right there in the story. I mean,
I think that should be the first major video game, would be something where you're shrunk. You know what I mean? Like, you take that as a spin. What was that movie back in the day?
Honey, I Shrunk the Kids?
No, I mean, there's that, but I mean, what was... Oh, Fern Gully. Dude, Fern Gully would be awesome to play.
I love Fern Gully.
AKA Avatar. Holy crap, there's a Final Fantasy 9. Look at that, that's amazing. That's my favorite Final Fantasy, by the way.
Is it?
Conchu's having fun showing off all the avatars.
Yeah,
it's fun.
Pretty amazing.
So we can imagine, I don't know, 10 years from now that we could have avatars looking like what we're seeing up there on the screen, what you've designed. I mean, at some point,
that'd be
that's
great.
going to happen.
You know what I would love is, and I know that they have pushed that World of Warcraft engine so far, and it's still amazing every time I jump in there and play that game. But at some point, I want to run around Azeroth. I want to be like, dude, I had to walk from frickin', Ironforge to Stormwind, and I'm exhausted. I don't want to play anymore. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I want to do. You know what I mean? Like, questing and grinding, everybody would lose like 180 pounds.
Everybody would
be buff as hell. And what's is it Vanishing Realm? Is that like the dungeon?
Mm-hmm.
That you'll lose me for hours in the office. If you could play Zelda like that, oh man, game over.
Wow. Yeah.
Or even if you built the game engine to be a modular D&D campaign, take my money. Take it.
Last week.
That was last week.
That was who was on last week. Mythica. Mythica is an actual film series, and like people like Kevin Sorbo, like Khan, kind of B film people. That's who's in these films. They're crowdsourced on like Kickstarter. This game is a Kickstarter game as well. Mythica, the VR game, and it is like D&D, but you are the avatars, and there is the dungeon master who has set everything up, and he can puppet the mobs or the villains or the characters as well, so he can go into them, and
that's
what
awesome.
Kind of building out. It's really awesome.
Oh wow, that is so surreal. Pretty soon, you won't ever actually say hello to a human being.
Well, except I say hello to more people now, I think, than I did. I don't know. Especially because I worked from home for the last 4 or 5 years, and it's become a problem not being able to go into a studio or an office, and but I get to go into the virtual set and see all my buddies and talk.
This is just absolutely a trip.
It's been therapy for the last 2 years. Yeah.
I bet, man. It's great. It's great. Unfortunately, just due to deadlines and all kinds of stuff, and also trying to put out a book, I don't have a lot of time, but when I do jump into it, I usually get easily lost for 2 to 3 hours. And I'm just amazed to see where it's going to go next. Like, I feel like a really good pilot simulator, either Star Citizen, or I think there's one out now. Elite Dangerous. So I bought that. I love it, but it's way too complicated for an average gamer.
Yeah, it's hard.
You can't just get in and just do stuff,
it's
right?
More of a simulator than an arcade game.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of arcade, have you guys tried the VR arcade, the retro one?
Oh man, that's been around a long time too. Love that. I have mine all customized and Super Nintendo. I've beaten like Mega Man 2, Super Mario 2, and others in VR. Played the whole game too. Love it.
That's a riot. I love it. That's cool. I haven't we had the trial one and we were just playing the trial one for a long time. And I think it's out now and I haven't had a chance to go buy it, but I'm gonna definitely check that out.
Neon's out, it's really fun.
Yeah. It doesn't come with all the ROM stuff, so if you need anything, let me know. I'll ship you over.
I'll be hitting you up for sure on that one.
Yeah. Cool. Artwork, all kinds of cool stuff.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, we've gone a long time, so I think we'll start wrapping it up. Audience, I prompt you if you want to ask any questions, please do. Questions or just feedback or, comment on how killer artwork we're looking at
I
here.
can't wait to come
So
back
cool.
next Tuesday for this. I'm just saying.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's the first time here, bro. I'm glad you found it. Next week we have Alex from Hover Junkers on. Have you ever played Hover Junkers?
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
I'll be
great.
here. I'll be in the audience.
Sweet. Yeah, it's
with a
gonna be great.
better skin than my apparently one arm is broken and I can't use it, and then this one.
Sometimes my tracking gets lost sometimes. That's funny. But yes, that's your homework. You must. I mean, you have the skill.
I'll see if I can't get a custom
mission.
generated one by, I don't know, that's probably pushing it. Maybe 2 weeks. I don't know, we'll see.
Yeah. Reach out and I'll get you hooked up with anything Unity knowledge, that you may need to make this happen. It's all really pretty simple. I'm actually not a developer and do this stuff. I can do some of it. It's
awesome.
It's pretty easy. Yep. All right, cool. Well, where should people find you? I threw out a couple links, justionfields.com and ironkladstudios.com, but is there anything else, a specific project or some other social media you'd like to point people to? And one thing, guest, I hear your TV in the background. I don't know what you're watching.
Not sure we want to know.
And maybe not. Maybe we should wrap the show up before it turns into Asian pornography. I don't know why I picked it.
But yeah, if you guys want to follow, feel free to add me on Facebook. I usually have to clear out people that don't comment or anything like that, but I usually add people on Facebook, and then if you're interested to see where we go with this book and the project of where that goes, feel free to hit me up on Instagram, jfields217, or just do a random search for Justin Goby Fields. You'll usually find me or be able to find a route to follow me socially.
That's what I say these days. Like, just search, just find it, whatever you want. It's so
Google
much
me.
now. Google me. I'm in the internet somewhere.
GTS, isn't it? Isn't that what the people are saying now? Google that shit.
Oh, I didn't know that. I was thinking Ghost in the Shell.
Well, there's that
Or
too.
that's GITS. That's GITS. So that came to mind now. Yeah. Anyways, Bob, what about you?
Thanks for having me.
Oh, absolutely. And Bob, he also does another podcast, so I like to check in with him. Anything going on over there?
Yeah, so you can follow me at Cause and Effects on Twitter, and my podcast, Left-Handed VR Podcast, is
it spelled like what it is over your head?
Yes.
Ah, that's clever. I should probably have done the same.
And then, so you can find me on Twitter, and then the Left-Handed VR Podcast is LHVR Podcast. That will have a new episode. I'm going to try and finish editing tomorrow, so we'll have that out either tomorrow night or Thursday morning. So make sure you check that out. And next
Three left-handers talking some good VR smack. They're all left-handers.
Oh, add me on Overwatch if you know how to heal somebody. Holy shit!
I'm a great healer. Yeah. I'm a healer from TF2 days. I'm only mercy healer, pretty much. I like a strong healer. Mm-hmm. Okay, so cool. Thanks so much for coming on the show, and thanks for Kenny for recording, Bob for co-hosting, all these wonderful avatars in the audience. It's fantastic. You can support me by going to my website, guntersuniverse.com, subscribing to the newsletter. I want you guys to know when cool shows are coming out, and sometimes I don't know all the details to the day of, so stay in the loop that way, or follow me on Twitter at guntersuniverse. And if you really like what's going on here, you can head over to my Patreon and support me by donating $0.25 a week or $1 or whatever you'd like. Really helps, and I can't thank the people that donate currently enough. It's really, really appreciative. And that's pretty much it. Thanks everybody for hanging out. I'll see you next time. Take care. Good night, everyone.
Later. Woohoo! Yeah.
We did it.
That was really cool.
I'm glad you like that. Time to stretch our legs, do a little dance. You just hit forward on your controller, your avatar will pop up.
Do a dance party now? You gonna put on some music?
Oh, the music's playing. You don't hear it?
No,
I don't hear it.
Oh, weird.
I do.
Well, hold on a sec. It's kind of loud.
I can hear it.
That's pretty much